here's a shot of the before of my artist studio. As you can see, it's a nice room, a lovely blank canvas for a children's book author illustrator like me to transform into the art studio of her dreams. For this project, I knew I needed a space for my art supply pegboard, bookshelves, and a desk and a chair. I also wanted the space to, when I entered it, to immediately make me feel both calm and playful. It's a balance between decorations that make me feel happy, but then a lot of space for my imagination to run free. I love color, but I'm also terrified of color in a way. Or how I would put it is I get overwhelmed by color sometimes. And the other thing I thought would be cool is, just so I don't sit on my butt all day, which happens a lot when you're illustrating, I wanted to have a space with a standing desk and a walking treadmill, especially for when I'm doing admin stuff. I started the research for this project in December, so it's been a while, and it's been a journey, a very fun one, and also overwhelming and stressful. As I did my research, I realized that one of the fun ways I could capture a playful spirit is by putting patterns on the wall. So I looked up wallpaper, and that was like $1 million, and I thought, why don't I try painting a mural on my wall? So here are just a few of the mock-ups that I did. I did like 100, I swear. It was so much. I ended up narrowing down to this one, which I love. It's got the mod vibe and kind of a 20s flair. But before December, Rachel could even start transforming her vision into a reality, she had to have a snack. Here she is to tell you about it. Okay, I cannot stop eating Reese's Treats. What did they put in these things? Also, thank you to my husband Aaron, who sacrificed his own office space so that I could fill his with my office mess for like over a month. Okay, so now it was time to paint. And first we needed to open the plastic wrap, which I did with Flair, roll it out. Look at that skill. Wow, look at her go. Okay, and flipping it. Why did I do this? After those paint struggles were over, look how beautiful. I love the sounds of painting. And because I'm a professional, I set up this camera angle myself. Now we're ready to roll on the white paint. Ladders were involved. Do not try this at home. Wow, look how beautiful. So beautiful. When you're done painting, it's good to take an Annie break. Always love that chin scratch. Time to tape. Very annoying to tape up the whole room. It may look fun, but it wasn't. We went through at least one whole roll of tape. Just in case you were wondering, this is the way to open a tape roll. And finish taping the room. Look how beautiful it is. Wow. Ooh. So these were the two paint colors, one for the stencil on the top. Now it's time for the green paint. In this moment, I was very nervous painting the wall for the first time. But then I got excited and somehow did the whole room, filled every last bit of it. Here's the first coat. And here's a test with the window seat to see how it all looked. Looking good. Now it was time to get to the stencil. We made it with that plastic, cut out different pieces of paper. At first I printed out, I just kind of did it by hand, printed it out, but then it ended up not being even at all. So I ended up having to redo it. The stencil was the hardest part, and funnily enough, I ended up not even using it in the end I had to trace the stencil out with paper instead and make like a giant stencil that I taped together because the plastic ended up being too stiff. So it was really hard to use on the edges of things, corners. But I worked really hard on the stencil, so and it did work, and it did what it was meant to do. This is Aaron. He even drilled into it for me to get the stencil prepared. It was a good idea in theory. All right, now it's time for the stencil paint. A lighter color on top of the darker. Another great camera angle. You can see a little bit of what I'm doing. Oh, and along the way I added a dot, which I think really made the stencil pop on the wall. This is real-time painting. So I painted each one of these by hand across the whole wall. It took forever, and I ended up, this is the paper I used, I ended up tracing pencil all the way up and then just painting it by hand. So it's very imperfect, but very personal. And this took me hours and hours and hours. But once I got in the moment, it felt very zen to me. Another Annie break, of course. Now back to painting. This was probably the hardest part, was sitting on the ground. And then it was time to clean up the edges. And then, the best part, taking the tape off. Look at that clean line. Oh, I love it. Because I love it so much, I had to get a couple of shots of it. Oh, so satisfying. Now it was time to clean up all the little details like the vents. This was actually really hard to screw back in. It took forever because it wasn't a really great fit in the first place. Light switches, and then scratching off the paint off the ground, which ended up being really easy. And finally, cleanup of all the mess and all the crap on the ground. And da-da-da-dun! The room was finished being painted and it looked so good. Now it's time to add bookshelves, of course. They didn't quite fit right over our baseboard, so Aaron chopped into them so we could fit them on the wall. Now it's time to grab a lot of books, but also have a lot of room to buy more books, which I'm very excited about. Here is me filling the shelves. I had a lot of caffeine that day. I'm still fiddling with the bookshelves. And then I had a walking treadmill that was red, shiny red, and it just felt horrible in the room, like Christmas colors. So I ended up looking a lot of YouTube videos, and it turns out you can actually paint your treadmill. Not perfect, but it ends up looking so much better in the room. The last thing was getting the pegboard together with all my art supplies. We come to this place for magic. We come to laugh, to cry, to care. Because we need that, all of us, that indescribable feeling as we face the blank page. Depression, anxiety, a full mental breakdown. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Our mental breakdown transforms into words, marks on the blank page, and our stories start to feel powerful because here they are, especially before anyone else sees them. Rachel's office, where she makes books better. All right, I hope you enjoyed the little nod to Nicole Kidman's AMC ad that I can't get out of my brain. I wanted to tell you a little bit about one of the inspirations behind this art studio transformation. And it is actually my second picture book called To Catch a Ghost. Now this isn't the actual copy because it's not out yet. It comes out on July 1st, but this is a sneak peek arc. This book is about a little girl named Sam who she is new at school and she has nothing to bring to show and tell. And I don't know if you remember or you experienced this as a kid of the high stakes of show and tell. It was like your whole social status depended on this moment. It was so emotionally complicated. I thought that would be great material for a book that's both funny and full of heart. And as I made the story, because show and tell is at the heart of it, this idea of the chalkboard became kind of a theme throughout the book, a visual motif. As I realized that, I also realized I need to use chalk in the illustrations for this book. It just made sense. The only problem was that I had never used chalk pastel before in my entire life probably. And so I just started and I made a huge mess and had a lot of fun and also freaked out a lot. Can I do this? Why have I done this to myself? Now when I look at this book, I can see my own progress as an illustrator and I feel so proud of the art. What gave me the courage to try chalk pastel, to try something I'd never done before on a book that was going to be out in the world for everyone to see? What gave me that strength? It was actually my main character. So on one of the first spreads, it says this: bringing nothing to show and tell is like wearing shoes without socks. It stinks. So when all you've got is nothing, you need to catch yourself as something. If you've got gumption, that something could be a ghost. So that word gumption is so fun to say, but it's also become a really important word for me and something that my main character taught me. So I decided to design a sticker to honor her. This sticker is inspired partly by my childhood in the 90s of growing up and seeing all those Got Milk commercials, and I thought Got Gumption it just made me laugh. So I had to. And I'm giving them away actually to those who pre-order the book from one of the participating local bookstores, which I'll list. You'll get a sticker with your copy of the book, which will come out July 1st. Thank you for sitting at the kid table with me today. I'll see you next time. As always, I'll save you a seat right next to me. Bye!